We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sponsored Content. I am your host. Today on Spawn Storytime, episode number 7, we are going to cover Spawn issue number 7, a continuation of the Overt Kill storyline from issue number 6. Before we get into issue number 7, I want to recap with issue number 6, in which case we had our introduction to Tony Twist, Mafia Boss, and Overt Kill, Mafia Enforcer. They have been blaming Spawn for the recent murders of the Mafia Dons, so they've called up Sicily and they've requested that Overt Kill be sent overseas so that Overt Kill can take care of Spawn. Spawn and Overt Kill battle it out. Spawn gets the brunt of this and he's left unconscious. Overt Kill, assuming that he is dead, leaves Spawn like a jackass and walks away. Spawn comes to and he's like, you know what? I don't want to use my powers, but I'm still going to take out this cyborg. So he actually infiltrates a military base, an army base that he had knowledge of, and he has collected his arsenal, and he's looking to meet Overt Kill again, and this time Spawn is not going to lay down and take it easy. Officially titled Payback, this is the second part of our Payback story arc. I neglected to mention that in the previous episode because I was so stoked to introduce Overt Kill, but this is the second part in the Payback storyline. We see, again, Call of Duty supply drop Spawn here on the cover, looking pretty sweet, looking pretty badass with all of his arsenal and his weaponry. The smoke illustration coming off the muzzle of the fully automatic weapon, certainly, looks pretty sweet as well. So without further ado, we'll take an even closer look at this cover. Spawn issue number 7 was released on January 1st, 1993. In issue number 7, we get our first introduction to Bobby, who is one of the vagrants living among the refuse and trash in Rat City. Bobby becomes he's sort of Spawn's best friend, bottom bitch maybe in a way, but Bobby's a good guy and he kind of assumes the role of Spawn's new best friend and sort of guides him along the way in his acclimation to living in Rat City. It's been 3 weeks since Al Simmons was thrust back on Earth looking like a baked potato with no memory, and this entire time he's had a ton of questions. He doesn't know what's going on. He's super uncomfortable. But now he has a target in Overt Kill and he's being pushed into battle. So following his tussle with Overt Kill, he had to repair his arm using a little bit of power, which he really is not wanting to do. But he feels like he has a purpose now. Now that he's collected his munitions and his supply cache here, he's geared up, he's ready to go do what he does best, which is murder and assassinate and blast the shit out of cyborgs with his newfound weaponry. So needless to say, at this point, Spawn is becoming very, very comfortable with his current situation. Spawn has collected enough weaponry to demolish a small building or a big jerk-off cyborg, so he's happy about this. And in Hell, Malebolgia is pleased of this as well because Spawn is kind of scratching his evil itch here. He's exacting vengeance or revenge on Overt Kill, so this is what Hell wants. This is going to cultivate that evil streak that Malebolgia wants to see. So Spawn takes stock. He realizes that when he was fighting Overt Kill, that was about the extent of what he could take without tapping into his powers, that if he would have done that it would have been, Overt Kill would have been toast, but this is a balancing act that he's trying to play between using his powers and trying to get along without them. So he's broken into this army base, he's kind of stealing or gathering these munitions, he's alerted, the presence of the guards, so they're trying to break in. They've got like an old school ramrod here, a car ramrod that they're busting the door down with. Spawn doesn't really want to engage them because he's thinking back to, his time in the military. These are probably a bunch of like private first years or some rookies, so he doesn't really want to kill them. So instead he thinks, I've got all these powers, what else can I really do? And he decides that he's going to try his hand at teleportation, which is an absolute bitch, as we're about to learn. So Spawn's ripped into a molecular sludge and his teleportation sort of works. He gets reassembled back in the alleyway. This is for Spawn the worst experience that he's had so far. So Spawn's kind of thrashing about on the ground, recovering from his first attempt at teleportation. He's just kind of glad to be back home. And now we've met Bobby, of course, and Bobby's like, yo, Redman, never fear, Bobby's here. Bobby's going to take care of you. Bobby will make everything better. And Bobby is a pretty good old boy, so he wants to lean down and help Spawn out. We notice here our timer is at 8031, and Bobby wants to help out Spawn, so Bobby is drunk. But he also thinks Spawn's drunk, and Spawn's like, look, I've been through a hell of a lot, but I am not drunk. And Bobby's like, yeah, there's no reason to be prideful. Like, it's okay, we'll take care of you here. we've kind of taken you in as one of our own freaks. You know, he kind of makes fun of his costume a little bit, asks him if he's like out trick-or-treating. He wants to give him some suds, so he yanks Spawn's mask off, which isn't difficult to do at all. And he's like, damn, dude, you are a real nightmarish Clive Barker looking creature. And he was like, damn, you know, you're super ugly. And Spawn starts screaming. He's like, no! And Bobby thinks he's taking this, you know, the wrong way. But, you know, Spawn has a lot of shit on his mind, so he's not really affected by Bobby's poking fun at him right now. So in another part of New York City, we are now at the building owned by Mafia Don Vito Gravano. And Overkill is there. He's reporting back that he has disposed of Spawn, or so he thinks. And Gravano is pleased, of course, because this was his mission. He wants to send Overkill back, but he can't go back to Italy until he's repaired because he kind of looks stupid if he comes back all busted. So he's like, no, I'm not going to get on that plane until I'm 100%. And then Gravano tries to kind of sweet talk Overkill away from his current boss in Italy. And then we see Spawn, the continuation of his screaming fit with Bobby. And we now see that Spawn's having another flashback yet again. This time he's getting some more memories regarding, you know, when he was a soldier. You know, he was a patriot, he was a decorated hero. You know, he became a covert hitman. You know, his conscience started to get in the way. His family maybe was taking his mind off of his work. His life became a nightmare. He was murdered, and he's still trying to figure out how and who. Spawn gets a clue, and on our next page, we see his killer, somebody holding a grenade and a pistol, a skeleton of sorts, and this skeleton is a mercenary. They've been hired to kill Spawn. They think Spawn is a traitor. They're at war, and they have no time for traitors or his, quote, self-righteous grandstanding. So this person, this skeleton, has shown up, and we see that he just blasts Spawn right in the face, bringing Spawn, or Al Simmons rather, to his death. And this memory, this flashback is haunting Spawn. He doesn't know what it means. He wants it to stop. And then we flash back to Bobby, who's like, dude, I was just giving you a hard time. I was just razzing you a bit. You know, calm down. Another peaceful night of sleep is shattered when Wanda awakes from a nightmare regarding Al. Again, it's been 5 years since her husband's death. But she has been having a tremendously difficult time sleeping over the past 3 or so weeks. She keeps thinking about Al and his tortured soul, and she wakes up in a panic. Wakes up Terry. She's like, I'm having these nightmares again. You know, what's wrong with me? Someone has killed Al. Someone shot him. Someone shot him right in the face. I saw it. Her and Al are kind of sharing some weird twin energy where they're having the same sort of visions. But Terry's trying to reassure her. He's like, look, you know, we've kind of looked into this before. He was not murdered. You know, the government said so. So obviously the government is always truthful, and I work for the government. So, you know, we got to take them at their word that he was killed in action. But she says that's not enough. And Wanda is just being tortured as well with Spawn's return, with these sort of nightmarish visions that are being shared between them as Spawn grapples with his past and his present and probably his future. Spawn's kind of sitting there stewing. He's pissed because he thinks that just the fact that he exists is putting other people in danger and that somebody's after him, and he still doesn't really even know why. He's kind of being, these mafia killings are being misappropriated to him. So the mafia is after him, but they're after the wrong person. So he thinks that with them thinking he's dead, it's a great time to go on the offensive, which is why he's loaded up with the Call of Duty arsenal. Bobby's like, you know what, piss on him. If they, you know, are coming for our turf, it's not a big deal. You know, we'll just move. And Spawn's like, no. Like, we're not moving. Like, I'm going to hold up in this place, and we're going to make this sort of a fortress for the bums and for all of our shenanigans. You know, no outsiders, like no mafia goons, no police, like none of that shit. You know, just as boys, basically. So he says he's going to take on the mafia, and Bobby's like, you know, I hope you know what you're doing because you look kind of silly, and I've never really seen you do anything yet, so I don't even know what you're capable of. Spawn pulls out his like mini bazooka, and Bobby's sort of convinced. Spawn thinks his cape is actually sort of getting in his way at this point. So he doesn't really know what it's capable of or how to use it or how it's been benefiting him to this point, even though like just last issue, he thought it was super badass and menacing and cool. And now he's like, I don't need this. It's kind of weighing me down. I want to kind of streamline things, look a little slim, put on my skinny jeans. And this thing is just kind of, you know, flapping in the wind. And he just drops it off in the alleyway and walks away like it's nothing. The next morning, at the animal shelter where nearby Wanda's home, she goes to check in. If you recall, it's noted here from Spawn issue number 3, when Spawn had come to see Wanda for the first time, he transformed into Patrick Swayze. He'd made up some BS about how he was with the animal shelter. So she's down there checking up on this because she thinks it's a little odd that this guy came in the first place, and she's kind of been thinking about him since then, and something doesn't seem right. Maybe he was actually there for her husband. She knows enough to know to be concerned, so she goes down there to check on things, and sure enough, this guy doesn't exist. So she's like, is this a guy after Terry? Is this somebody like creeping on me? This guy looks like Ross Perot. I don't know, but she leaves. As night falls, Spawn, he gets really geared up and sleek here with all of his weaponry, because he's going to go kick Overtkill's ass. So he's like, it's time to get some answers. It won't take me probably long to get my answers. I got this big ass gun, I'm putting it right here. It's funny because it's like a dick too, but he just looks super cool and really serious. So he's like, I'm going to go find Overkill. I'm going to find this weirdo named Dracula, who is the mob boss, and he's going to pay him all a visit. And that's what he does. And he creeps on over to one of these other, giant ass, like, organized crime buildings that are so prevalent in New York, America. So we get another blurb about how this building is impenetrable and like how high tech the security is and yada, yada, yada. And then we see Spawn roll up, pointing this gun right at this greasy bastard's head. And he's like, look, fat boy, I need your help. And he's like, tell your cyborg to leave me alone or meet me at the pier. I don't care. I want to take him out. So tell him we're not finished. And this scene's pretty cool, looking like a blown out ass building like the Matrix or something. But it just looks really neat with the illustration of the smoke from the muzzle and Spawn standing there looking actually like he's like 5'7". But anyway, we move to the pier. Spawn's just chilling with all of his guns, waiting on Overkill to show up. And that happens. So here's Overkill. He's like, oh, my hero. And he is like lamenting that he didn't really check and make sure Spawn was dead before. And so he's ready to play because Spawn showed up and he's got the weapons. He's ready to go. This is different from last time. So we finally get our Overkill and Spawn round 2 battle, which opens up with Overkill bashing the pier to pieces. Spawn doesn't get far. Overkill grabs his chains. Spawn's so hyper-focused on his weaponry, he's kind of forgot that he's like a costume freak with these chains and spikes and stuff. Even though he dropped the cape, he's like, oh yeah, I've still got like some of these other things going on. Maybe I should check these out. But he grabs some debris, jams it right in Overkill's eye. Overkill's like, that's kind of starting to hurt just a little bit, and he's not down with that, so he works up a big-ass fire blast. On our next page here, Spawn's like, do you want to see scarred? I'll show you hell in the flesh. And he's like, take a good look at me, motherfucker. I got all day. And Overkill just starts laughing. He's like, you look like shit, man. And you smell bad. Spawn's like, that's a terrible dad joke, and he blasts him with this mini bazooka and this awesome shot. We can see this fire blast just shoot completely through Overkill. He's already missing a hand. Now he's missing like his whole torso. Really cool illustrations and coloring here. Bam, 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 bam. Overkill is in pieces. He's barely held together. He needs more than duct tape. He needs a mechanical engineer and a software update. Spawn says, who's laughing now? He's got this big shit-eating grin on his face. Overkill is basically the skeletonized equivalent of a thing now. And Spawn's basically like, I fought you assholes before. This is the fun part. I'm going to basically rip your slinky ass head off. And with all the noise that's now been made, Spawn knows that the authorities will soon be on their way, so he takes a moment to revel in his handiwork. He's so impressed with himself. He sets an electromagnetic bomb. He does not want to leave any evidence behind. And our final shot, we see him slipping away into the night, thinking about Rat City, thinking about how he can't wait to curl up behind this rusty dumpster and get a well-deserved night's sleep. And we see the conclusion to the payback storyline here with Spawn blowing the absolute shit out of Overkill and continuing his unwanted war with the Mafia. This has been sponsored content with another episode of Spawn Storytime. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you again.